Hello, my little Scoobies and my Tubies and my Oobies and my Maloobies and my Badoobies, my boobies. Yes, you're all my boobies. You are all my breasts. Okay, so I want to talk to you today about a spell for protection or a witch's bottle. And I have some examples here that I wanted to show you as what witch's bottles can come in. These are not witch's bottles, but you know, I'm here to give you some ideas, some tips, and some tricks. Okay, and we're gonna make this short, sweet, and simple. Now, don't forget to go down to the description box, click on the link for Miss Solitary Luna's video, go over and watch it and understand her take on it. My videos are more talking videos with props to give you some ideas because A, I don't like wasting supplies when I'm doing these types of videos, and B, I'm mostly not trying to expose a lot of my craft, but also trying to educate at the same time, so I thought this was the best way to do that. Okay, if you disagree, bye-bye! Anyways, so let's talk about spells for protections and witch's bottles and what shapes and forms they can come in. A witch's bottle could be as simple as this, okay? It could be a little bit more elegant, like this. It could be huge and massive, like this. Or it could be simple and small, like this. Okay? So, what is the purpose of a witch's bottle? And what is the purpose of a spell for protection? And why, if I'm doing warding and shielding, would I want a spell for protection? Sometimes, okay, because we are social creatures, you're also going to have to forgive me for the outside sounds because it's really hot in here and I'm trying to record a few videos today, so just bear with me. So why are we using a witch's bottle? What is a witch's bottle? A witch's bottle is a form of protection, okay? A lot of old-timey witches, okay, back in the good old days before all this social media fuckery, okay, they would take bottles, maybe this size or this size or this size or whatever, and some would fill them with urine. And you would hang them or you would bury them in your yard, and that's to deter another witch from essentially coming onto your property. Is the folklore behind that, but they're still gonna come onto your property. It's more meant to ward against negative magics, okay? So when we have a protection bottle or a witch's bottle, we don't always necessarily, like a witch's bottle doesn't necessarily have to be for protection. Its main ideas for protection, but when I think of witch's bottles, I think of honey jar spells, I think of freezer jar spells, I think of putting somebody in a jar, I think of, you know, that kind of stuff where, you know, you might put Cindy Lou Who in here and fill it with fire ants and like all this other shit. Or you might put a business card with some honey and some lavender and cinnamon and like sweet things to attract that job to you. Or you might put something in a jar and then burn a candle on top so that the wax will seal the jar, okay? So a witch's bottle to me isn't just for protection. It's also a way of doing quote-unquote jar magic. I mean, these are jars, right? Like, and they don't have to be this big. They can be small. They can be, you know, tiny. I bought this at Michael's for like $2 Canadian, so it's probably like $1.50 in American. But the point that I'm getting to is that a witch's bottle isn't just for protection. You can use them for cursing and hexing, and we mostly call them jar magic more than anything because, like I said, they kind of come in jars. So when might you need to do a spell for protection as opposed to or with warding and shielding, which is the very first video in this entire series. So sometimes you need to amplify your protections. Okay, so in the first video I talked about, you know, you have to layer your protections. Okay, so if you're just putting up a bubble and some black salt around your house, that's not really enough. Okay, that's the wet paper bag equivalent, essentially. You know, a bubble is easy to pop and black salt is easy to get over. You need to layer your protections like an onion. Okay, and the deeper they go, the more layers they get through, the more and more dark and twisty and damaged and broken that the protection becomes. And what I mean by that is that you really want to get sick with your protections. Okay, so maybe one of your wards or your shield or whatever is spiders that crawl over them and bite them with like acid teeth and like hurts them. Or maybe another one is bear traps all throughout the entire house. So if they're astral projecting, you know, there's these astral images of bear traps that as they walk, they clamp onto their feet, and they don't have to be seen, they can be hidden, you know? So protections is really all about visualization. You're visualizing what you want to happen to the person or persons that are attacking you. Now, I also stated in warding and shielding that protection magic isn't just about protecting yourself from another witch. It's also protecting yourself from negative energies. So many witches have talked about this on YouTube, and I thought that it would, you know, take some reiterating that we're not always protecting ourselves from Cindy Lou Who down the street. Sometimes we're protecting ourselves from Cindy Lou Who's energy as she comes over, or if we see her out on the street, or we see her at the mall, or maybe we go to the mall and there's all this negative energy around, you know, we need to protect ourselves from that. So a witch's bottle can be even smaller than this, and you can wear them around your neck. Hi! Anyways, I was trying to like, I don't know, I was like going for this like gold chain and I was gonna be like, hey, you can wear it around your neck, yeah. But no, seriously, you can. You can get those tiny little bottles that you can make into a necklace, and you can like put stuff in it and wear it. You can do it for necklaces and bracelets and anklets and all that fun stuff. So, what is a spell for protection? How, like, if we're doing, is it the same as warding and shielding, or is it different? Well, for me, it's different, and I'll give you an example of how it might be different. So I might mix in some black salt with some fire oil, and, you know, let's pretend this was not a road opener, but, okay, let's pretend this is a cursing oil, and I might put in some cursing oil. Now, I might mix all these together into a much smaller jar than this, but you get the point. I might mix it into here, and, you know, I might put a poppet in. That doesn't necessarily represent a specific person, but it may represent a witch. And it doesn't have to be a specific witch. It's not like I'm targeting the Lady Gravedancer or Ember Honeyraven. I'm just saying, if a witch is attacking me, you know, I want them to be covered. I want them to be in pain and misery and suffering, you evil little bitch! You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want. You really want to put in, like, if you're going to attack me, it's going to come back. Okay? Like, it's really, at the end of the day, a lot of protection magic really is about, it bounces off of me and sticks to you. Like, that's literally the basest definition of protection magic. It bounces off of me and sticks to you. I mean, it's that simple. It could be a candle spell, it could be a petition, it could be an incense, it could be whatever you want it to be, but the base intention, really, at the end of the day, is this shit that you're sending to me, this negative energy that I'm feeling in this mall, this, you know, whatever it is, it's bouncing off of me and sticking back to you. It's not affecting me in any way, shape, or form. Now, some people are really, really good, and what you can do is you can incorporate into protection magics a talisman or a totem or some kind of object that might sit on top of your jar, for instance. And as negative energy or magic or whatever is coming in, it's being absorbed and held into the jar, but the thing on top is taking that energy and putting it into it so that you can draw on it later to then put into your magical spells. I mean, why waste energy? If some dumb bitch on the internet is gonna cast fucking magic at you, trap it and use it. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can be transformed, or it can be redirected. You cannot destroy or create energy. It has to be transformed or redirected. So when you think about magic and you think about energy and you think about negativity and you think about other witches and you think about the ghosts and the goblins under the bed, all they really are is just energy that you can use. And if you're a skillful witch, you could easily trap anybody's energy that they try and send to you into a jar and then basically suck the energy out of the jar and use it in your own workings. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Okay, so I hope that this has given you some insight into a spell for protection and a, witch's bottle. I'm not going to make the witch's bottle or do the spell for protection with you because these are more talking videos and inspiration videos than they really are about spell work. And as you already know, I don't like wasting ingredients. So, what I thought is that, we do a conversation with props. So if you've learned anything from this, make sure you head down to that description, click that link, go over to Solitary Luna's video, watch that video because she probably will end up doing a spell or doing a witch's bottle. What I wanted to do was discuss some ideas that you could do in your own craft. And the biggest one that always, well, not always, but sometimes, I will say sometimes, works for me, because it doesn't always work, but the one that sometimes works for me is making a witch's bottle with the intention of trapping energy that is sent my way, mostly negative, into the bottle so that I can use later. So I can pull it out later and do whatever I want with it. Because remember, energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed or redirected. And I mean, most of the time I redirect that energy and be like, bitch, have a taste of your own motherfucking medicine. Let's amplify that shit up, okay? Let's pretend this is a cursing oil. Let's curse that motherfucking bitch, Like, that's really what it is. But at the end of the day, you also have to realize that a lot of protection magic isn't just about protecting yourself from Cindy Lou who might live in Texas or England or fucking Atlanta or wherever the Cindy Lou Who bitch lives, okay? It's not always about that. Sometimes it is about protecting yourself from other people's energy. And I'm not talking magical, I'm talking regular old energy, vibes, Like, you walk into somebody's house and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, the vibes in this house. Like, is everybody ragey today? Like, those types of vibes. And you would, like, that's where bubbles and, like, little jars around your neck, okay, would come in handy. Other forms of protection magics could be, using your own urine in conjunction with black salt, just kind of piss in a container and mix some black salt into it and then, pour it around the property. Menstrual blood, your own blood, is also great for warding and shielding and protection magics. Now, I will tell you before I go, because, this video is getting kind of long, but if you are putting things into jars, make sure that they are dry ingredients. Okay. If you're putting waters and dry leaves and oils and salts in here, you're going to eventually notice some white stuff climbing up the walls of your jar, and that's when the jar is done. That's when it's time to throw the jar out. I wouldn't take the energy from that. I mean, you could. You easily could. Or you could open the jar, let everything dry out, and take all of that, or put a poppet in here and be like, enjoy the mold, bitch. You can take a used jar spell, open it up if it's all moldy and gross inside, throw a poppet inside, close it up, seal it with wax, and now they're trapped within their own bullshit. Okay? So that is my tips and tricks for protection magic and jar magic in a witch's bottle. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. But I would highly suggest to go check out Lunar Wisdom's video on the same subject and see her take on it. Because maybe she has a better take than me. I don't know. Maybe she's a better witch than me. Maybe I'm just a fake witch. Who the fuck knows? I'm leaving.